right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. Let's start that discussion on State of the Nation. We talk about matters, politics, and everything in between there. We'd like to hear your views all through the conversation at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. Let me introduce my guest one more time, starting from my farthest right, Honorable Professor Tom Ojienda, Senator for Kisumu, and also a member of the National Security Committee at the Senate. Thank you for making time. Honorable Nelson Koech is here, Member of Parliament for Belgut, and also the National Defense and Foreign Relations Committee Chair. Thank you very much for making time. Charles Owino is here, is the head of NCC, which is the National Communications Center. Thank you very much for making time. And Willis Otieno, Deputy Party Leader, Safina, and also an advocate of the High Court. Thank you very much for making time. We're still waiting for Honorable John Nyutu, Senator for Murang'a. As soon as he comes in, we'll drop him into the discussion. But let's take a look at the dailies. A lot is going on with the abductors playground on the Daily Nation and on the Standard, Kenya's new abductions theater for foreigners. And Honorable Koech, you sit at the National Defense and Foreign Relations Committee as the chair. Has Kenya become an abductors playground?
It's a serious concern. It's a serious national security concern. But of course, we have to disassociate between abduction and normal police arrests. That is where we need to draw the line. Of course, there are cases that have been overly dramatized that are not abductions, as I said. But any issue that touches on abduction is an extremely serious offense. And I mean, the security apparatus should be able to explain. On the matter that is at the headline today, my committee is seized of this matter, and we will be making an invite to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to shed more light on really what is happening. What are all these allegations, what has informed it, and what is it in regards to international law. There's a process of extraditing individuals who are deemed to be criminals. And there is a process also legally allowed to do that. I'm sure, I'm sandwiched between lawyers who will even expound it further. But as a chairman of Defense and Foreign Relations Committee, my committee is extremely worried. I'm sure even the country is extremely worried as well, and many people. Kenya has been, yesterday I saw the PS here, and earlier during the day I attended a meeting where we are reviewing our foreign policy. One of the biggest anchor of our foreign policy is security. And that is why Kenya has been known for as a safe haven for people who are running away from insecurity from their own countries, and insecurity even within. So it is important that we continue to anchor that phase. And it is unfortunate then that if we are talking about reviewing our foreign policy and we seem to be affronting the same policy, it is unfortunate. So my committee will be inviting the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to shed more light on exactly...
He did speak, but the PS was here yesterday, and he said one of the things is, first, they were not aware that he was here, so they didn't have extra security. But isn't it a failure on Kenya and egg on our face if this happens in broad daylight? And also, one of the allegations was that he had illegal firearms. So how did that happen?
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. I heard him say also that he spoke to his colleague and investigations are underway to establish exactly what might have happened. It's unfortunate that actually someone could drive into the country or fly into the country armed and without any records from our security agencies on what kind of a person is around and what arms are they carrying. It tells you that there could have been some laxity at some point of entry. And of course, the people must take responsibility.
But also, we've not had much from your committee all through time. In fact, even if you look at the Daily Nation, there are quite a number of statements around people being abducted. We've not had much from your committee talking about this, condemning this.
I issued a statement. I personally issued a statement when there was the issue of Light Academy, the investor that was flown back to Turkey. I made a statement personally. And as a committee, we were seized. I mean, my committee is extremely sensitive. The information that we do on camera and communication that is made on camera, and we get satisfied as a committee. And there is also information that we wish that we carry out to the public to understand what has happened. Such issue, I remember, had been exhaustively engaged by the relevant bodies. For this particular one, it is a concern for the whole country. This is a political figure. It's a known figure in Uganda. as opposition leaders. So as a country, we want to know that are the people visiting this country safe?
Okay.
So as my committee, I make a commitment here that we will be inviting the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Okay.
And I hope Citizen will be covering the story when he does come. All
right. Ojienda, you also sit in the National Security Committee at the Senate level. Is this a worrying trend here in Kenya?
Trevor, good morning. Now, let me just wade into your question. The scenario of abductions that we have in this country, or that we have witnessed, paints a worrying situation. It paints a worrying situation because we have no solutions in all the cases where abductions have been claimed. We do not have solutions, and we don't have solutions because it is the security apparatus that ought to provide answers. Only last week, we summoned various players within the security sector before Senate, and essentially when they appeared before Senate, and now you have figures from the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights on the number of abductions that have occurred. But as my colleague Nelson has pointed, there are cases of straight arrests. The case of Besigye, for instance, let me just give an example of Besigye that you have referred to. Besigye came to Kenya undercover. He did not he came into Kenya as a private citizen, and instead of going to a hotel, he went to an apartment from where he was abducted. So there was no information on the part of the government on at what point Besigye got into the country, and he was supposed to attend a book fair organized by the Honorable Martha Karua. Then he was not in attendance. I think the worrying trend would then be access, whether the border points of Kenya are porous, and you can't notice certain personalities coming into Kenya. That's number one. But number two, in as much as we are the Turkish situation where the international law principle of non-refoulement was raised. You know, when a citizen moves to another country, they expect to be in that safe haven, unless, of course, the international terrorists, where the universality doctrine then applies. You can be arrested by any state. But ordinarily, a citizen of another country should not be taken back to their country of origin if they fear for their life. But in the case of Besigye, it's interesting that as soon as hue and cry was raised over his arrest, he appeared before a court in Uganda. He's actually facing charges. So he was taken out of Kenya illegally, but he's facing a legal process in Uganda, which I think stemmed from whatever he did before he came into Kenya. So I think it's hazy. Yeah. And then there's also clear information that he was apparently abducted not by Kenyans, but by Ugandans, by individuals who came into Kenya armed and took him out of Kenya.
Isn't that a problem in itself? Because you say the government itself did not know that he was here. But if foreign nationals and foreign security operators know that he's here, come and pick him from here, isn't that a failure on the side of government?
I think it also goes to the entire framework of the Treaty for the Establishment of the East African Community in 1999, and the peace and security aspects, and of course regional, or what you say, international crime within East Africa. Whether, therefore, Besigye, having committed a crime within Uganda, came to Kenya to hide from the long arm of the law. So those are issues that need to be there. So I think it's also a regional question, not just for Kenya, but also for the East African community. How do we treat individuals who commit crimes within the region? Can you, for instance, commit crime in Kenya, move to Uganda or to Southern Sudan for protection? And how should countries then treat you? So this is a delicate issue within the framework of the treaty. Okay. But I think, Trevor, going forward, I think there are solutions on this. One, we have a very, very proactive and responsible IG Kanja, who is a very good friend and who, I'll tell you, has brought some fresh breath of air into the force. Now, we need to manage these abductions. We need to know what arms undertake these abductions. And we need to stop these abductions so that whoever is responsible, I think, should be brought to book. And as a security committee of Senate, I've told you, we have had summons to the security apparatus, and I think we'll continue to interrogate, including a report that was submitted yesterday by the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, because we cannot have all this going on.
Okay. Charles, you've been in the service for the longest time. Are the security operators to blame for this?
Number one, I'm told from what I've seen in the papers that Besigye came in through Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. My question would be, he came from where? Because if he came from Uganda, then how come they waited for him to come to Kenya and then cause this drama in case he was here? Because I would want to talk out of actuality. I'm not aware. I've seen the police have denied knowledge that he was here. So what I can say is that there are procedures on extradition, as he has said. And I think there could be other special reasons as to why that happened. So I think the National Security Committee will be able to interrogate the security apparatus and get to know exactly what happened. So from there, we can remain advised as a country.
But can the security apparatus be blamed for such an incident, regardless of what happens, if someone is abducted within our borders?
It depends on cause of abduction and how it has happened. Because I've even seen them saying he had firearms. Number one, it's not easy for him to have come in with firearms through the airport unless somebody was offering him private security within the country, and maybe the person is using illegal firearms. You never know. Or unless somebody maybe sneaked firearms through the porous border and came in. It's a bit complex, and that is why I say it requires the National Security Committee to interrogate the security apparatus in order to get to know exactly what happened and advise the country accordingly. Otherwise, we would stand speculating.
Okay. Willis, who is failing here in this entire system? Because we're talking about 1,376. We may be talking about Dr. Kizza Besigye recently, but there are cases, 1,376 of them.
The number one failure in terms of personality is William Ruto. Because ultimately, he is the chief executive of the country. And I say this because of the following reasons. The key issue of Besigye is not just a standalone issue. We are having foreign mercenaries, because when they come into Kenya, they're no longer police officers or security agencies. These become mercenaries because their jurisdiction don't extend to Kenya. Coming into this country and forcefully abducting people, committing acts of refoulement, committing acts of extraditions without following the laws of Kenya. I will not even be discussing Besigye alone in isolation. We've had this incident with Ethiopia, coming into Kenya to abduct. We've had this incident with Turkey, coming into Kenya to abduct. We've had this incident in South Sudan, coming into Kenya to abduct. We are now having this incident with Uganda, coming into Kenya to abduct. I mean, if your country, you just turned your country into a playground of mercenaries, foreigners just coming here and doing whatever they want, we should not be discussing Besigye. We should be discussing where is the sovereignty of the Kenyan state and where is the chief executive officer of the Republic of Kenya when all these foreign nationals are coming here and committing all manner of things against people who are lawfully resident in Kenya. Look at the charge sheet Besigye has been slapped with. The offense relates to being in possession of firearms in Riverside. I mean, that is, it even speaks to the question of geographical application of the laws of Uganda. If it was an offense that if the firearms were found with Besigye in Riverside, the right place for him to be charged is Milimani law courts here, not in Uganda. Because if it's an offense committed within the Kenyan state. And Kenyan state agencies cannot say we don't know. We should not even be investigating or even condemning Besigye at this point alone. We should actually be calling our executive to account that how have you allowed foreign mercenaries to be running amok within the Republic of Kenya? That, to me, is a great indictment. The Ugandans have their issue with Museveni and what he's doing to Besigye. But Kenyans must have their issue with their leadership. That what is happening to our sovereignty today? Why have we allowed ourselves to become a playground of foreign forces? So it means that, as it is, no Kenyan is even safe. Ugandans can come here and pick any Kenyan and take them to Uganda. And the Kenyan state will not protect them. We've seen it now. I've counted, just off the top of my head, I've counted 5 nationals who've come here, foreign states have come here and grabbed nationals and taken them to their countries. And if we are not careful, and I listen to these members of parliament, I'm getting sad every day because they are speaking PR language. At this point, they should be having a hue and cry as to the breach of our sovereignty, not telling us that these are sensitive issues we discuss as a committee and we are satisfied. What is your satisfaction is not enough. We should be seeing accountability, and that accountability must be public. Who let the guard down? Has he been called to order? When you say Besigye came here as a private citizen, any person who has walked into this country is subject to the laws of this republic, whether he's a citizen of Kenya or a foreign national. So your status as a private citizen or a public citizen, no. Your status does not mean that now the laws of Kenya don't apply to you. They apply to you. Okay. And more so when you are within jurisdiction of Kenya lawfully. Besigye was here lawfully, okay. Came through the port, was attending a public function, Martha Karua's book launch. So he ought to enjoy the full rubric of the laws of Kenya. And Kenya itself must be the #1 complainant. They should be telling me that Kenya is going to file a case against Uganda at the EACC, at the EAC, for breach of its territorial integrity. If not, Kenya will be declaring war against Uganda for the breach of its sovereignty by Ugandan forces coming to operate in Kenya. Not telling me that the Cabinet Secretary has explained to us we are satisfied. Satisfied as who?
Okay.
Does it bring back our sovereignty? Okay. Because we are satisfied?
I'll give them a chance to respond. But Honorable Joe Newton is now joining us here, Senator from Murang'a. Thank you for making time. We're speaking about the abductions. Who has let the guard down and who's failing who here?
Well, thank you, Trevor, and good morning to viewers. Where I come from, we say that when you come late, you only pick the small intestines, because otherwise you'll have found that the better pieces of meat have been taken. So I came in late, and I'm sorry for that. And I really have not picked whether you're talking about the abduction of Kizza Besigye, yes, or the abductions that have been happening in the country, where Kenyans have been abducted, and most of them have not been found, especially since the Gen Z riots of June 25th this year. But either way, Trevor, I think abductions are something that we should not allow in this country, whether it's for a foreign national like Besigye. And from what I picked when I came in, it's unfortunate that Besigye was abducted from here for an offense that was allegedly committed here, being in possession of firearms in Kenya. Then the case should be done in the country, because then it was within the jurisdiction of Kenya and not in Uganda. And anyway, the concern then would be, when this abduction was done, did it have, was it okayed by the Kenyan police and the Kenyan authorities, or it was an abduction where people came in, maybe abducted Besigye without information or clearance by their Kenyan counterparts? And then talking about the abductions that have been happening of Kenyans, I think it's a very sad situation. And Trevor, every day everybody gets concerned, because we are not only talking about abductions, we are talking about even police, hooded police officers. And we saw them in Parliament on June 25th. Why would a police officer wear a hood? It means then such a police officer already, they are ready to commit a crime, because a police officer is entitled, it is his duty to arrest. When a police officer arrests you, they are doing their job. They need not hide their faces. So you can only hide your face because then you plan. From the time actually that you leave wherever it is, whether it's a police station or your home, you are going to commit a crime. And I think such are the things that should be condemned by any Kenyan that is progressive, because these are things that have not been seen in the many years, especially after multipartyism.
Yeah.
And of course, then it becomes a concern of everybody that we could be going back to some very, sad situation that was there many years back.
Yeah.
And so abductions for me, whether it's of a foreign national or a local, is something that we should rethink about and condemn in the strongest terms possible.
Are we seeing an increase? Because the former deputy president also, when you look at his pages, he says that he's being trailed by vehicles that he's not sure of. When you look at it online, he puts them there. What is going on here? Who should be blamed for all this?
I think we may not be able to lay blame on any particular person or office, but it's a matter of concern. Trailing people, abducting people like we have said. I think what should happen is, if the police have a case against me, they should arrest me and identify themselves, of course. We must know. If I'm arrested, everybody should know. My family, my lawyers, if I have any, should know that I've been arrested by these particular police officers. In fact, they should be having their identity cards. If you demand, they should even give you their service numbers. And they should, everybody should know which police station I have been, taken to. So talking about trailing the deputy president, I think it's very sad. The former deputy president, I like calling him the second deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. I think it's very sad because, and Trevor, these are serious things. They also reports, how do I put it? Once you have achieved your objective, you do not have to follow up on somebody. There are reports, of course, although it doesn't concern these, that those that voted no against the impeachment of the former deputy president, if you may, will be removed from committees. And it's laughable, Trevor, because what should happen is, if you wanted to marry a beautiful girl, for example, and you finally got her anyway, why would you follow up and punish maybe a young man? Because, of course, before the advent of a mobile telephone, we used to send the boys to go and call for us girls. You got the girl finally. Why do you want to go and punish that boy that refused to go and call the girl for you? You already achieved your objective. Why should anybody follow the second deputy president? They have impeached him. He is home. Why should there be any problem with anybody who supported him? Why should people follow him up if he committed any crimes when in office or before he got into office? Then prefer charges against him.
Have you been intimidated in any way?
No, personally, I have not been intimidated in any way. The only intimidation...
I've been threatened to be removed from it.
Of course, and we are ready for it. Not just me.
So you've been told you'll be removed?
But you know what happens in Parliament? Mostly, you'll find rumors. And rumors, just a minute, and rumors in Parliament, if you hear any rumors in politics, it always comes true. Yeah. And I can tell you, there were rumors that Senator Kenya of Laikipia County would be removed as a commissioner. And we even know that Senator Wamatinga was going to be given this long before it happened. And it happened in exactly the same way. Somebody may want, I know Professor Tom Ojenda may want to tell you that Senator Kenya resigned. Yeah. But of course we know he was forced to resign. Okay. So these things, when you hear rumors, wait, and you will see these rumors will be confirmed within no time. There is a purge. Yes. There is a purge, Trevor.
Let me hear your reaction on this, because also Willis had accused you earlier on of paying lip service. Yes, and just having a PR talk when our sovereignty as a country is being breached.
It's not. If Willis bothered to listen to me, he will have heard what I said, and I was very clear about it. Number one, let me start by saying Kenya hosts more than 700,000 refugees. Kenya sends troops to other countries for peacekeeping. You just, when I walked in, you were hearing a story of Kenya having spent some money for the officers who are in Haiti. There's a mediation. Yeah, we have a mediation team that is working on security and peace in Sudan and Southern Sudan. There are isolated cases of individuals who are said, and I like to use what Dr. Awino did say, there is a belief, because at this point it is still an accusation that Besigye was abducted from the country. I want to say that this is a peaceful country. We host people. We are recognized for doing that. That is why even Besigye himself felt comfortable to come into the country. Then my question for my committee will be, what has happened? And I said, and I made an undertaking here that we are going to invite the relevant ministries to shed light on exactly what happened. I'm sure the Security Committee will do the same. Me, and as the Chair of Defense and Foreign Relations, I will definitely invite Honorable Musalia Mudavade and his team to come and explain to us what exactly happened. I do not want us to be very emotional on an issue that we can easily get the details and we address it. So people have been accused, and you see, there's a lot of, it's a very sad situation because, and like I said before, there's a very thin line between, in Kenya now, even police officers in uniform arresting someone, Kenyans online would say, you know, they're abducting. It is not an abduction. There's normal arrest, and then there are abductions. On the issue of the former deputy president, and you mentioned, and of course what has happened in Parliament, that one cannot go without my response. I want to say this, that the former deputy president has had a problem with our security agencies. From day one, he's accused the National Intelligence Service, he's accused everyone in the security sector, the IG, and everyone who he believes have a problem with him, even when there is none. I want to tell you that there has, and you know, the deputy president, former deputy president before was invited to make a statement with the DCI. He declined. So if he believes that there are people who are trailing him, then the best thing to do is not to go on your Facebook account unless it is nothing serious. The best thing to have done was to go to the Director of Criminal Investigation and write a statement. But from where I sit, there is absolutely nothing to follow with the former deputy president, and I don't see why the police will trail him in the first place. There is no form of intimidation whatsoever. And I can tell you, that should be the last person to say that he's being trailed. You know why? He subjected so many young people to an unnecessary lynch, public lynch, particularly those he branded, the young people from central Kenya that he branded as Mungiki. Young people who are working so hard for this country, young people who are just trying to make a living, he branded them in Mungiki and unleashed the police on them, that wherever they were found, violence was meted on them. 2 weeks ago, the former Mungiki leader was released by a Nakuru court because of just trump-up charges that had been instigated by the former deputy president. So in my view, those are just, those are just stories. He's running away from his own shadow.
Okay.
Back to
yes, as you wind up.
Back to the committees in Parliament, so that I can leave it to the rest of my colleagues. Let me tell you, Trevor, we are all elected from a political party, unless you're an independent candidate, where you must subscribe to the ideals and the ideals of a political party in Parliament. You must vote. It does not only happen in Kenya, even in the US Congress. You must vote in line with your party. So wherever a party communication has been done, particularly for me who comes from UDA, if a majority leader in Parliament makes a pronouncement that we are voting in this line, if you defy, there are consequences. Some of those consequences involve you being removed in prestigious, in what I will call, quote unquote, prestigious committees, or even being removed altogether from particular committees in Parliament. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It should happen. So and that is how
Joe Newton and the rest should be removed.
They should be removed. Why should they not be removed? If there were inadequacies, and if they have defied the party position on what they were supposed to have done in Parliament, they have to be removed.
Okay. Now that's a whole new conversation you're starting, but let's take a quick break. When we come back. We have a solid hour to talk about this because it's a state of the nation. We're already getting into the details of it all. We're back in just a short while. Let's take that quick commercial break.